Hello everyone, welcome back to X-Plane 11. My name is Micah, and we're going to be going over how to plan a route using SimBrief and SkyVector, how to implement that into an FMC, how to fly that, and how it works with the autopilot, and how to bring a plane in onto approach. Now, I'm not an expert, I'm not an actual pilot, and I don't have any certifications or anything like that. This is just through trial and error by me, and looking at a bunch of other videos and things like that. So kind of a tutorial, kind of just a walkthrough. Hope it helps somebody out there and, helps you figure things out. So the way we're going to go off first now, we're going to go ahead and go to simbrief.com. You have to create an account. It's free to do. Highly recommend it. We're just going to create a new flight. We're going to be Delta Flight, say 5476, and we're going to be flying from Kilo Bravo November Alpha, which is the national airport, to Kilo Alpha Tango Lima, which is the Atlanta airport. You can see it automatically gives you an alternate location, destination in case something happens, which happens to be International Airport that I'm flying out of. Airframe already created one of these. There's some standard ones that they already put in here. You can see 7373. But you can create your own 73, there you go. So they're all out there. I'm sorry, that was a 757, not 737. 737, and it'll be an 800. I already have one kind of created. You can kind of customize them too. You can do that through the aircraft editor. Anyway, so it's saying we're going to depart runway 13. We're going to arrive at runway 27 right. That's what they're wanting us to put it on, which is totally okay. You'll see here, it already gives you your route, and I'll break these down in just a second. So what you want to do is go analyze route. This will tell you, making sure it's valid for the current navigation data, how long the distance is, and the plus whatever, that's just telling you you're adding about 3.1% more than if you just did a direct route. So it's pretty much just a straight route there. And you see these buttons right here, which is pretty cool. You got FlightAware, SkyVector, and Route Finder. We're going to use SkyVector. You'll see it automatically pops up your route here. Shows you everything pretty much you need to know here in regards to flying. It gives you your entire route right there in front of you, which is a nice visual. But I'll show you what really keys in. So SIDS and stars, those are those navigational points, right? There that signify coming into approach or departures, and you'll see them here. This is one of those. This is an airway, and this is another. This is a star, and this is a SID. Don't worry about the nomenclature as much as worry about notice that there's different colors, and that's important, and we'll get into why once we get into the actual FMC. Another cool thing I like about SkyVector is if you go down to the airport you're going to and you click it, you'll see it shows up the airport, and it gives you all the diagrams for everything. And so it's important, we know we're going to runway 27 right, so you can actually bring up runway 27 right. It gives you all the information you need to know about it. The star that you can go through, you can transition through into the approach, which is important. We'll get to that. And it gives you the ILS frequency, the localizer 111.30. It gives you everything you need to know, you would ever need to know about the actual runway, the height of it, everything. It's all right here. It's wonderful. I highly suggest it. And you can bring up obviously all the diagrams of everything that you so desire. Anyway, so we're going to actually heat this up, but I'm going to move this over onto this side because you'll see why in just a second. So we'll go ahead and get back into X-Plane here. And I've already selected the national airport, and we're going to start at gate B11. So we'll go and confirm that, and we'll start the flight, and we'll ignore that. Now understand, I am flying the Zibo Mod of the 737. Very important difference between the standard 737 and the Zibo Mod. The Zibo Mod has a lot more functionality, almost to the point of like a payware aircraft, compared to the traditional 737, the default 737, which is missing a lot of the functionality. Now, also understand the FMC on the default compared to the FMC on the Zibo is also different. So you're flying the default 737, it's not going to be the same, okay? You have to understand that. I do highly recommend the Zibo Mod. You also hear a sound pack that you can get for it. There's a lot of cool things you can do with it. I just highly suggest it. It's up to you whether you want it or not. Totally up to you, but I highly suggest it. All right. Loaded. All right. Whoa, we are like right at some. What in the world? We're like in a place that is so strange. All right, let me turn down this volume. All right, that's better. I hope that's better for you guys. I was like, whoa. Anyway, that sounds about right. Okay. Well, we are way too close here. So I'm gonna see if I can get a pushback. I doubt I'll be able to, just because we're so close. We're gonna go ahead and request straight back. Yeah, no push parks. All right. So what we're actually gonna do is we're gonna hit reversers, and we're actually have to use our reversers to bring us backwards. Just so we're not like in the airport. I wish they would fix some of those things because it's not the first time that's happened to me. Okay, now we're gonna hit the parking brake and we'll get going here. Okay, we're gonna turn on our lights here. Put that on. All right, Dan, we're gonna put this continuous. And don't worry about this, guys. I'm just doing this in case for some reason we hit birds or lose an engine. So I'm gonna go and we're gonna hit the FMC first, and then we'll hit the autopilot. So what I'm gonna do is go down here, zoom in on the FMC, and first thing you're gonna want to do, okay? You're gonna want to make sure you just click the INT ref, which is initial reference, okay? All this is gonna do is give you your origin, destination, flight number, things like that. Now you see perf int, which is for an initial. This gives you like fuel and things like that, but we'll touch that in just a second. This is your identity. You see the index. It gives you like a list here. Your position. You can put in exactly where you are. It already has all that in there. Performance, etc. Anyway, so just click the INT reference. You'll see origin. So for origin, we know we're going to be Kilo Bravo November Alpha. So KBNA. And we'll push this little button right here next to origin, the line or air. That's going to put us into our origin. Our destination will be Kilo Alpha Tango Lima, which will be our destination just right here. Runway, we know that they said we were going to take off runway 13, so we'll put that right here. Flight number, we're Delta, what were we? Let me bring up this, go back to sim brief. We were Delta 5476. Oh, real quick, so with this, go ahead and click generate op. So this is actually going to generate a flight brief, which, you know, sim brief kind of makes sense, right? Flight brief. And most of the stuff you can pretty much just ignore. You're not really going to worry about it since you're just role-playing, pretty much. So it'll give you how much fuel you need. We already have enough fuel, just standard. I know last time I flew, it's the same. So, but you'll see your route's also going to be right here. But this is where it's kind of important. It gives you height restrictions, altitude restrictions at certain levels, so we know we're at least going to be flying at 290, flight level 290. So that's important to understand. So we'll keep that here, and we know we're taking off 13, landing 27 right. So we'll go in here. Oh shoot, that's what flight number. That's what I was doing. Flight number. What was it? Delta 5476. 5476. And we'll put that into flight number. Now you can save this route. So let's say you want to fly this multiple times, as if you're in an airline. You can save this route into your FMC and it stays there. It saves it into your actual X-Planes files and it sits there and you can just recall. We're not going to do that because I already have it actually saved in there because I have flown this route before. So we're going to click the next button and just click this button here to automatically calculate how much fuel you have, everything like that. Reserves, we're not going to have any reserves today. And cost index, we're just going to put 50. Don't really worry about that. I just put 50 and you'll be fine. So with the cruising altitude, again, looking at SimBrief, the highest restriction required is 290. So we're going to go in here and we'll just do 290 just for ease. 29,000 feet. And put it there. Next, M1 limit, don't worry about that. We're not putting restrictions. Takeoff, so common takeoff for 737 is going to be 5 degrees of flap, so we'll put that in there. And then boom, see that V1, VR, and V2? It gives you those reference points based on your fuel, your weight, and the flaps that you put. Automatically calculates all that for you, which is phenomenal. All right, we're going to QRF off and on. That tells you it's off and on, but we're just going to leave it as is. Go back to index. Now, you'll see approach too. It also gives you your VREFs for your approach speeds for your different flaps. That's very, very important. Okay, very, very important. But anyway, now we've gotten that done, right? We're really missing the entire route. We have our destination. We have our, our initial where we're flying from, right? So our departure and arrival airports. We don't have anything else. So what we're actually going to do is put in our departure and our arrival. Now I understand you don't have to put your arrival in until you're actually up in the air. You don't have to put it in. I go ahead and do it because I already know the airport I'm going to. But in case of maybe the weather changes or something, you can always change it in flight as needed. So we're going to go to departure, which is the DEP AAR, which is in our climb. Click the DEP, which is your departure from KBNA. Now, remember the SID. The SID for this one was the tip in 3, right? So we know we're taking off runway 13. We put that in earlier. So we're going to select tip in 3. Now, notice it says transition, right? So what it's basically recognizing that tip in 3 connects to the Bravo Romeo X-Ray Tango November transition point. You can go ahead and select it this way, or you can manually put it in, okay? And I'm going to show you how to do both. I'll do the other side with a manual. So we're going to select transition here and click execute. Every time you see that little yellow thing pick up, you can go ahead and click execute. That way it saves it. If you don't, then it's not going to save it. Anyway, so we'll go back to departure and arrival. You'll go to their arrival airport, arrival, and important, you will select your star first, okay? Your star first before you select your runway. So our star was this one right here, and our run that we were supposed to be landing on was 27 right. You'll notice it's not here, so you just go next page, next page, next page. There it is, ILS 27 right. That's what I want. So we'll select that. Notice transition over here. So there's a couple options you can choose from. And if you notice, right here, you see U, right? And then you also see MCAP, okay? So these are two different points you can transition into the approach with. I'm going to transition all the way out just for safety's sake. You can transition here into MCAP if you so desire. I prefer to have really long approaches. That's just me. That way I make sure everything's okay. So I'm going to transition with the YOU, right? I'm going to execute that. Now, go into legs. You'll notice a couple things. First off, you see vector. You don't want any vectors in your FMC. Otherwise, it can actually throw off your autopilot. So we're actually going to select Rory right here. And we'll just go up to where it says vector and select it. You'll notice it eliminates it and pushes it up. That's what we want. So we'll execute that. Now we'll go to the next page. You'll see, we have a route discontinuity. Why? Because we don't have a direct connection there. Remember what I told you, how I was going to show you both sides? So if you look here, we go TIBN 3, the BRX TNA, direct, to DRMMM, right? Well, right now it doesn't have that direct route going on. There's nothing there. So what we actually have to do is select here, select it, and put it then. Execute. Now you'll notice if we go previous, we'll hit our cruising altitude here. Then 89 miles away, we have to drop down to 13,000, and it'll automatically do that, and we'll get into that. And if you continue next page, you'll see all the different points. You see vector here again, so I'll need to remove that. Again, selecting below, moving up, execute that. Next page, and you'll see this is our final destination, altitude 1,034 feet. That's what we'll land on. So yeah, these are all the different points in your FMC, and you can see them here. Now, to actually go through your flight plan on your display, you go up to this little area, and you'll select from map to PLN, which is plan. Once you're in plan, you can actually go down, you'll see where step just appeared. You can literally go step, 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 and it's showing you all of the steps that you're going to take as you go in. This is our final approach right here. And boom, we're hitting our runway right there. So that's a neat little tool to make sure you don't have any errors. Go back to map. Okay, now we have our FMC set. Well, I'm actually going to go ahead and go back to the initial. That way I can see my takeoff reference as I fly, as I take off, to make sure I'm hitting the right speeds. What I'm going to do now is go to the autopilot section. Took me forever to get this right, guys. Okay, what you're going to do, your altitude, we'll go from right to left, and there's a reason I'm going right to left. Altitude, we're going to select that all the way up to 29,000, right? That's what we had it set at, so that's what we're going to go to. 29,000. Heading, it's good, just practice to go ahead and put yourself on the heading you're going to be taking off from. And for us, it's going to be 130. All about 130. Come on. Nope, other way. Now, once you get these set, again, you don't have to do this particular portion. It's just good habit. That way you can actually switch to manual autopilot. It sounds contradictory, but it's where you're not using the FMC. And then we're going to put up the speed. We're going to put this up to 180 knots, which is a good, just flaps down, cruising the altitude speed. And there's a reason I put it there. That's for when I'm flying in on the approach. It doesn't overspeed or anything, but don't worry about it. Just 180 knots will be fine. Doesn't really matter that much. Now, we're going to go ahead and actually taxi. And then before we get onto the runway, we'll do our little pre-flight, pre-takeoff routine, and I'll show you what you want to do there. So we're going to go ahead and get back to our main seat, get a better view here. All right, so we are going to be taxiing that direction, if I'm not mistaken. Let me make sure I'm correct here. Zoom in on the airport. Yeah, so we're going to be taxiing over right wing. We're going up here, so we're going to go across over 20 right, down, then up, then the 13. So we'll go ahead and hit reversers because for some reason this airport doesn't have release the brakes. For some reason this airport doesn't have pushbacks, so we're having to manually push our aircraft back, which is totally not recommended at all, but you know, that's what we got to do here for some reason. Make sure my taxi lights are on. And that should be good there. So we'll go ahead and change off the rear. Why is it it's still stuck on rear? Hold on. Okay. Come on, baby. It's still on rear. Why is it still on rear? There we go. Jeez. Makes me feel like I'm an amateur or something. Alright. Which, honestly, I kind of am. So we're going to taxi out to the runway now. I do not have any rudder pedals, so you're going to have to bear with me as I use buttons to move my rudder left and right. Anyway, so as we're taxiing here, we're going to go ahead and put ourselves into a takeoff configuration. So we're going to drop our flaps down to 5 degrees of flaps. We're going to go ahead and flip on AT arm, which is, this is your auto throttle. We'll arm it. Doesn't mean it's going to come on. Just means it's armed. And flight director, we're going to turn it on. Again, doesn't mean it's armed. Doesn't mean it's active. Just means it's armed. We're going to turn this to RTO. Make sure it doesn't activate as we take off. That would be unfortunate. And it's going to be a little bit of taxiing time, so what I'll do is I'll see you down at runway 13. Alrighty, we're back, folks. We're approaching runway 13 now. Just about 5 minutes of taxiing. I thought, you know, no reason to put that in here. So we're going to make sure that we're ready for takeoff here. We already know what 5 degree flaps arm both of those. We're actually going to go ahead and activate VNAV and LNAV now. It won't let me activate VNAV yet. What that'll basically do is right when we actually get up into the air, then we'll be able to actually just activate our command switch for our autopilot, and it'll automatically engage everything for us. At this point, we're going to go and turn off our taxi lights. Don't need those on. We're going to switch APU to start here. In case we lose the engine, I want to be able to start the engine's up as fast as I can. Freeze. Let me make sure my needs to be a bat. This needs to be on Gen 1. Yeah, it's funny that they start with your engines running, and they don't start with the right configurations for your electronics in case your engines go out. So anyway, go ahead and take this taxiway right here. And again, we got our VREFs right here, so V1 is going to be 145, V rotate will 146, and V2 154. So we're going to act like we're already clear for takeoff now, so we'll go ahead and get lined up. And we'll do a line up and throttle up at the same time. Just like you see a lot that happens in busy airports. Alright, we're at 60, so we're good there. We'll bring it all the way up. You can hear that engine start to roar. I love the sound pack, by the way. Whoever created this sound pack, on point. On point. It is so good. Alright, you got the co-pilot letting us know. And again, this is where I wish I had rudder pedals. Alright, VR, and we're rotating up. Alright. Pause rate, gear up. Go and get 10 degrees right here. Wait for our gear to come up. Waiting for that gear to come up.
1,000.
Waiting for that gear to come up. Why is it not coming up? No, up. Why was it in the opposition? That's strange. There we go. Goodness gracious. Okay. All right, now we're pretty stable, so we're gonna go ahead and do flaps up. We'll hit VNav, important, VNav. Now VNav and LNav are active. That doesn't mean I'm still in control of the aircraft here, okay? We're gonna go ahead and command. When I hit command, it's all FMC at this point. All FMC. I'm not doing anything. Okay? Not a thing. It is all being flown by the computer. That's why it's imperative that you make sure that your route's correct, that you put your weight and everything in there, so it knows how it should be flying the aircraft. Because if you don't, you can really screw yourself up. We're going to put this back onto off now. Should already be 113. Yeah, we're already 113. Okay. If you guys want to see me do like a full-on, you know, cold start on this thing, you know, checklist, everything, you know, start to stop, fly, you know, a flight, let me know, and I'll be sure to do that. But I thought this would be, you know, cool to go through the FMC and how it works with the autopilot, and how this part I kind of figured out pretty fast. The hard part was when I got down to the descent and the approach, and we'll get to that. And it's really not that hard. I was making it harder than it should have been, and well, that's normally what I do. So, but we'll get to that. We'll get to, you know, how to do all that kind of things. But I want to keep this running, so I'll keep talking, and I'm going to show you what you do once you hit the top of descent. Once you hit, I'm sorry, top of climb, top of descent. When you get onto your base, when downwind, all of that. So I'm going to show you what, you know, the processes you should take to make sure that you can actually bring this plane in there pretty much automatically. You won't auto land it. You'll make the final, you know, 1,000 feet or so, but you don't really want to make it fly in auto anyway. You always want to have that control on the aircraft once you're getting into that final. And real life pilots are like that too. They automatically, you know, about 1,000 feet out, they take control of the aircraft. Beautiful day for flying, though, that's for sure. We're getting close to 10,000 feet. Remember, once you hit 10,000 feet, you're going to turn off your landing lights. I'm actually going to turn off the retractables, get those back in. But the fixed I'll turn off at 10,000 feet. And 10,000 feet. You'll notice how the plane started leveling out. You're like, wait a second, I'm not close to, you know, my top of climb. Well, what it does is it really kind of goes off speed, so it's trying to go as fast as it can. So it's actually going to go to 272. It's going to decrease its angle of attitude, angle of attack, its attitude, so that it can actually increase speed first, and then it'll continue to climb. The reverse will happen on the descent. It'll slow down first, then it will descend. It might. Those aren't on. Turn those auto. Yep, we're going to be climbing up 29,000 feet, so once we get up there and level out, I will come back to you guys. So we'll pop outside for a nice view. our top of descent, and we are. We're getting close, so we'll pop back in here, and we will wait until we hit the top of descent, and I'll show you what you should do once you reach the top of your, sorry, I say descent, top of your climb. You're not getting to the top of descent, which I'll show you. So let's look at this right here. You'll see this little circle, right? Let me zoom in, which you can do by selecting that, right? That's too far. That's not, so I guess 40 is going to be the closest. All right, right here, see a little circle. You'll see next to it says TOC. That means top of climb. Pretty self-explanatory, right? This line right here, I'm not exactly sure what that means, but I know it has something to do with your, like, the angle that you're flying at compared to the speed you're going and everything like that. It's something to do with that, but anyway, I'm not exactly sure. But this is your top climb, so it's constantly calculating where you're going to hit your top of climb. And now it's going to say we're hit right there. So that's what that little thing is. You'll notice this is going blank because you don't need to take off. Oh, crap. I hit the wrong thing. It automatically hit my autopilot off. Don't do that. It's fine now. It took over. Anyway, of course that would happen the one time I'm recording this. So you'll notice this has gone away. If you want to see your progress, you can actually click the little PROG prog, which is progress, and it'll show you total distance till you hit there, your altitude, everything, all right here. But I like looking at legs, because legs shows you each individual, where you're heading to next, and the altitude you're supposed to be at and everything like that. That's usually what I like looking at. Getting closer our top of climb. I'm just looking around, guys. Just looking around. Just a bit more. We are high, that's for sure. We are very high off the ground now. Pretty cool though, to look down and see all that. I think X-Plane 11 is an absolutely beautiful simulation. I'm really glad that they made the improvements they did. Less than 2,000 feet till the top of climb. You'll hear a ding once we get 1,000 feet away, and that's just letting you know, hey, we're 1,000 feet from our climb. But it actually goes on when you're going down to, it's whatever altitude you have set. It's going to go bing, and that's letting you know, hey, we're close. See? Told you that would happen. We don't actually have a co-pilot. I wish we did. That'd be cool if they would model somebody. I think that'd be pretty legit. Pretty legit. Alright, notice things changed. FMC speed activated, nav path activated. That means that we're hitting our top of the climb. It's changing what it should be traveling at. The speed is going to increase to our cruise speed, which automatically calculated. It's going to be 0.78 Mach 0.78, which is just over 300 knots at 29,000 feet. We'll go ahead and turn off the fasten seatbelt sign. Let them move about the cabin freely. Now, let's show you what you need to do once you hit your top of climb. First things first, you're going to change your headings and your courses to your landing course. That's going to be 2.7. Now, I'll show you something cool. It's actually going to be 2.75. And I'll show you how I got that instead of 2.7, because, you know, it's 2.7 right, so I want it to be 2.75. I'll show you that in just a second. Alright, if you actually bring up the airport diagram, see this right here, the degrees, 275, that's actually the center of the runway. So it's actually a 275 runway, not a just 27. So that's why I put 275. Next, altitude. You're actually going to, right now it's being held at cruising altitude. This has no effect anymore. So you're actually going to take this, and you're going to drop this all the way to 0. So I'll just do it this way. And you want it to be 0, and there's a reason you want it to be 0. If you had it, let's say 3,000 feet, right? When you hit 3,000 feet on your approach, it'll automatically kick altitude hold on. Even if you have autopilot off, it'll automatically kick it on. Okay, so you want to go ahead and put that down to 0. Next, what we're going to do here, you'll see the 113. So default, this will probably be something like this right here. Okay, you want to change your this is your ILS frequencies. Okay, you can change them just by using these knobs, right? Normal, right? So if it was 111.30, you change it like that, and you switch them by just clicking this button right here. I hear an aircraft. Holy crap! That was close. Anyway, that was close. A lot of interesting things are happening on this flight. So it automatically goes into your VOR1. So to activate it, you're just going to hit your nav1 button, right? You're not going to hear anything yet. Once you get close to the airport, you'll actually start hearing the Morse code. That's good. You want to hear that. That means you're picking up the ILS beacon. You're not locking on it, but you're picking it up. Now, see how we're getting close to the top of descent? You want to make sure you do all this before you reach there, especially the altitude and the mainly altitude. That's really what you're worried about. Because if you don't, then you actually won't descend. Let me say that again. If you do not reduce your altitude to 0 before you reach the top of descent, you will not descend to the airport. Now, I'll add a caveat onto that. If, for example, our cruising altitude as is 29,000 feet, if I said 28,000 feet, it would descend, but it would only descend 1,000 feet. Then it would hold at 28,000 feet. So it's very important that you let the FMC do its job and not get on the altitude holds. So you have to decrease that altitude to 0. Okay, I mean, you could technically do the like just below the airport altitude, but you might as well just do 0. Okay, might as well. But that's pretty much all you need to know before it descends. It'll automatically descend as long as these two things are armed. This is LNAV, VNAV. It's programmed in here, and this altitude is 0, and this command is on. You don't mess with any of these other buttons. Don't do a level change. Don't do a heading. Don't do APP, which is your approach. We'll get into that when you actually are going to be on your approach. Don't do an altitude hold. Don't do vertical speed. Okay, those are all manual things that you don't need to touch. The FMC is running it for you. Now we're getting towards the top of the descent. You heard that beep. That was to tell me I need to turn my fasten seatbelt signs back on, as we are getting close to going and descending. And you'll notice once we pass the top of descent, it's going to automatically slow down again. That's because it doesn't want you going over speed on the way down. And you'll see that in just a second once we pass that top of descent. Here we go. It's slowing down because it knows, okay, we're reaching the top of the descent. We need to slow down so that when we actually descend, we don't overspeed and end up breaking something on the aircraft. So don't freak out if all of a sudden your engines go woo away. That's normal. And if you didn't know, that's how actually Autopilot controls your aircraft. It uses trim. It automatically trims and moves your ailerons and stuff. It's really cool. The way if you really want to get into it, there's some great videos out there explaining exactly how Autopilot works, and it's really fascinating. Now you'll notice the speed's actually climbing ever so slightly, right? Well, to help it actually slow down, you can just go ahead and pop your spoilers just a tad. Basically, I just popped them one. See that? Now, don't do that if you're going 300 knots or more. You'll rip them off. Okay? You want it below 300 knots. I usually say below 280 before I start doing that. And then you just release them back to their neutral position once you get close, so that the Autopilot can appropriately add throttle to maintain the appropriate speed. But it's automatically going to descend down to the SIDS. I'm sorry, the star, not the SID. SID's on the way up, star's on the way down. And you hear that? The engine's throttling up because we're a little below, so it's actually going to throttle up to make sure we maintain the speed we're supposed to. And the descent rate we're supposed to as well. It's all calculated, the distance between points, the speed it needs to do, the degrees it'll take. Usually it descends about 3 degrees. That's usually about the descent degree that you're going to be aiming for. And that's what it's shooting right now. If you look really careful, that's the 5 line, right? I'm sorry, no, that's not the 5 line. That's the, gosh, that's like the 2.5 line, right? Now you're like, okay, this is between 2.5 and 0, so that's not 3, right? Well, you're looking at the actual angle of attack of the aircraft. You're not looking actually at the descent angle. So it's using the reduction in speed plus the angle of attack to actually get it down to 3 degrees. Again, all calculated in between here. Oh, see, okay, this message, I was confused first. What does this message mean? This is letting you know that, hey, you're probably going to have to use the spoilers to slow me down. I'm probably not going to be able to do it just without, any type of spoilers. So you can just help them out a little bit. Pop the spoilers, let them get to the speed they need to. And you can clear that error message. Oh shoot, I just hit it again. I swear. Anyway, if you can clear that message by just hitting the clear button. Okay. I keep hitting that trim wheel. I need to be careful with that. You hit that trim wheel, it throws the Autopilot automatically off. Need to be careful with that. I've never done that before. This is the only, I've done it twice in this flight, and I've never done it before. It's crazy. Crazy. Crazy, I tell you. If you have any questions about the FMC stuff, you can leave them in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer them to the best of my ability. Again, I am not an expert, but I have learned quite a bit about it, trying to figure it out myself. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave them below. And again, if you want to see me do like a legit flight, start to stop, let me know. More than likely, I would do that in a live stream rather than recording, because the recording would be really, really long. This one's going to be really, really long anyway, but that one would be especially long. Just now passing through 20,000 feet. Now, I do want to explain something. Let's say you have multiple points in between your transition SID and your transition star. Okay. to actually add them in, if you go into... Oh my gosh, I did it again. If you actually go into the legs portion, which we're in now, you can actually manually put in, you know, whatever you want. And if you select one of the buttons, one of these, it'll automatically put it there. So just know that when you're actually setting up a longer route, and if you'd like to see that, I can also show you how to do that, and on that, for example, on that legit flight I could do for you guys. But that's how you do it. You manually put in those other points, and then you would use the transition star to the runway. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, again, let me know in the comments below. I'll try to explain it better. About to hit our Delta Romeo Mike transition. Just hit it, so we're going to be turning right now to... what is Nacha or Hacha? No, it's Mercha, whatever. Mike Romeo Charlie Hotel. And we're getting down to the Atlanta area. Atlanta's basically right in here. That's where we're heading, so. We're in the metropolitan area. Now, if you notice different colors, you know, purple, white, all these are white and the others are purple, don't really mean much. I'm pretty sure the purple just means it's on a, what do you call it, an airline, like, highway. I could be wrong on that, but I noticed that those only appear on those and not on, like, the approaches and stuff. Alright, you see the DECEL. That should mean decelerate. So it should in the next few moments decelerate. I think to 250 knots is what it's going to go to shoot for. And the whole point is that so it transitions into 10,000 feet. You have to be below 250 knots when you transition to 10,000 feet for pressure reasons and comfort reasons too, safety and all that fun stuff. And then we'll also put on our landing lights once we transition through 10,000. I thought I was supposed to slow down. Or maybe when it hits this star, it'll slow down. Maybe the purple just means this is the next waypoint. Again, right? I'm not an expert. I'm not. That's for sure. That's for sure. Yeah, I think it's just the next waypoint. My bad. But once we hit that next one, we're flying our downwind leg of the approach, the pattern, into the Atlanta airport, which I think we may be able to see the airport. Yeah, that's it way down there. Can't really see it that well. It hasn't really populated. No, that's not it. That's not it. Somewhere else. Probably hidden by the cloud. That's another airport. The reason I know that is Atlanta doesn't have any cross runways. That they're all perpendicular, parallel to each other, not perpendicular. They're all parallel. There it is. No, that's not it. Where is it? It's supposed to be around here somewhere. I don't know. We'll see it eventually. Maybe it's off more this way. Something like that. We got another aircraft up there. It's higher than us. We're good. Soon you'll start hearing the ILS beacon start going off. And then you'll hear it go off, stop transmitting once we hit our downwind, and it'll come back on once we start going into our approach. Because it only shoots in certain, like a cone, out from each side of the runway. The approach and leaving, so you actually won't hear it otherwise. We are inching our way down right now. 500 feet per minute. That's a pretty slow descent. It's beautiful though. It is beautiful out there. And the sun's going to be setting that way. We're actually going to be flying into the sunset when we land, which is not the best conditions for landing, but well, it'll do. We'll be all right. We're getting there, guys. We'll get there. I just don't want to cut out anything, you know. I don't want you to think, oh, I must have missed something. He must have done something when he wasn't, you know, here that I missed, and that's why it's not working. I just want to make sure that is not the case. We're getting close to 10,000 now, so we're going to go ahead and actually, we'll turn on our fixed landing lights. And now it's accelerating 240 knots as we cross into 10,000. Remind them to put their seatbelts on. That was flight attendants letting them know, hey, make sure you keep your seatbelt on. It could get rough. Hopefully it doesn't. But as we're preparing to land, it is good to have your seatbelt on just in case. Alright, we've hit 240 knots. It's actually going to spin up to get up to 240 knots. Once we make our left turn here onto our downwind, we'll actually go ahead and drop our, well actually once we reach our next waypoint, not this one, but our next one, we're actually going to drop our flaps to 1. Drop them 1. Sorry about that, I yawned. We're going to drop them 1. Now you'll notice something when I do that, and I'll point it out too. Just keep an eye on that speed indicator, and you'll see what I mean. Something pretty cool happens. Now understand, 737, you do not have flaps extended at all, 250 knots or above. So it must be below 250, which we are. So we should see the airport now. Yeah, there it is right there. There it is. All right, since we're reaching our next waypoint, we'll go ahead and we'll drop our flaps to 1. Notice, right when I did that, automatically reduced throttle, right? To 198 knots. That's what is calculated to be the best speed to keep the aircraft flying as it should, with flaps to 1. And that's what it's doing. So you really don't have to worry about much. It's really nice because you just kind of, you know, you extend the flaps when you need to, landing gear when you need to, and just kind of roll in, and then eventually you'll just take over manual control when you get about 1,000 feet out, and then you just land the baby, and that's pretty much it. It's really simple. Well, obviously you have to have on your approach, but I'll get to that in a second. Speaking of, wondering why this has not started beeping yet. Should have, but it has not, so I'm a little concerned about that. Usually it beeps when we're passing over the other side, but I don't know. As long as we see the diamonds, these triangles turn to diamonds, will be good anyway. You'll have to hear a tone. When we get here, I want to be about 5 flaps. When we get here, I want to be 10, 15, 25, 30. When we get to right here, we'll be at 30 and gear down. And then we'll come in our last, I think it's about 7 or 8 nautical miles, and land there. You don't want to have your landing gear extended more than about 10 nautical miles away from the airport. It's just not very smart, or there's no real purpose either. So it may even be a law, I'm not exactly sure, but you want to keep it within 10. When we turn onto our approach, there'll be a couple of things I'll be doing, and I'll explain them all there. Just make sure you're paying attention, and hopefully you will understand them all. Alright, we'll go ahead and drop our flaps now to 5. You notice the speed again changes automatically. Let's go outside and look at this. Flaps slightly extended, 5. Beautiful aircraft in my opinion. That's the run we're going to be landing on. Look at that. That's picture perfect right there. It's a Delta commercial. And that's what that is. It's beautiful simulation, guys. It's just beautiful. I love X-Plane 11. So glad I got it. I used to play FSX, which was great for the time that it came out. Honestly, I mean, it's still good. I mean, it's not bad. But X-Plane 11 definitely does take the cake there. No question. We should be hearing the tone. Why aren't we hearing the tone? It's weird that we're not hearing a tone. We should be hearing a tone by now. Well, should be hearing a tone. It is 113, right? That's what it was. 1113. Yep, that's what I have. Normally you're hearing a tone by now. Interesting. All right. Go ahead and decrease now to 10 flaps. As we turn now onto our final. Oh, we just got the localizer. See how we just said ILS and those turned to diamonds? That's important. So we never got a tone, which is strange. I have to look into that, but we never got a tone. But we're definitely grabbing it, so. Gotta come through this cloud too. Let's do an external on this. This is gonna be cool. Watch this. That's cool. Anyway, let's go back internal. We got some things to do. Alright, fun's over, guys. Alright. Oops, wrong button. Alright, now that we're on our final approach, we're actually going to go and drop flaps 15. Right? We're going to go ahead and turn the automatic brakes to max. That's what these are. When it hits the ground, you're automatically going to hit brakes. And we're going to use the spoilers just a little bit to slow ourselves down. We're going a little fast right now. Release those. Alright, now what we're going to do, very important step, guys. Very important step. We're going to hit that approach button in just a second. When we do, ILS is going to take over. Okay? Watch. Boom. Now it's reading off the beacon. It's no longer using the FMC directions, okay? It's using the beacon. We're going to go ahead and reduce now to 25 flaps. And you'll notice it's 158. That's about where our final speed's going to be aimed at. Okay. Important thing too, you'll notice, let me go and kick myself up just a little bit here. You'll notice once we hit our glide slope, which this will change the V9 path to, it'll just be GS, okay? And that means we've hit our ILS glide slope. That's why it's important to have the approach button on. Once we hit that glide slope, okay, it's gonna switch from FMC speed to just speed. That means we'll control the speed that we're gonna be coming in on, okay? That's also important. Boom, see, just happened. So our approach speed, if you look at the reference, right? So we're going to be at 155. That's what we're shooting for. So 155. We're going to drop flaps now down to 30, which is where we want to be at. Okay. We're also going to go ahead and extend our landing gear. That's going to put us in our landing configuration. Again, we're using the ILS. No longer are we using the FMC. That's done. It's gotten us to where we need to be. on our lock, and we're cruising in now. And we just gave the call, flight attendants to prepare for landing. We're going to go ahead and extend our retracted lights. We're going to turn a runway turn-offs so we can see to the left and right. We're going to turn those on. They should be on continuous. Yep, so that way in case we have to turn our engines last second, they'll automatically do that. Again, we are flying via ILS, so it's a radio beacon coming from right next to that runway, shooting at us saying, hey, I'm right here, I'm right here, I'm right here, and the airplane's going, yep, I see you, gotcha, coming in. It's pretty neat technology, honestly, and it's actually kind of old now, but it still works very well. Well, that's the runway right there that we're heading towards. It's 27 right. Computer letting us know we're at 2,500 feet. I'm going to go and put my hands on the controls. We're going to go ahead and arm our spoilers. To do that, you're going to push them down. If you look here, you're going to push it that way. Or towards you, sorry. It's just like an arm button. Basically what it means is when we hit the ground, spoilers are going to automatically deploy fully. Our brakes are going to automatically activate per that. And then I'm going to hit reverse thrust and push that throttle forward as far as I can go to put the throttle backwards using reverse thrust. Again, I'm landing at 30 flaps. You can technically land at 40 if you want to, but I kind of see that's a little slow and you're risking a stall, in my opinion, if you're going 40. I mean, you can't do 40 if you're, flying really light, but not for me. Or really heavy, sorry, I don't think it's light. You can less flaps you need. 30 is good. 30 is good. Now, notice it says single channel. That means basically we're on our short final and we're taking the one radio beacon right off of the airport right here, just shooting straight at us. We're no longer be using anything else, just that. That's all it's doing. Now, as we get in, I'm going to hit this disengage button. It's going to disengage everything about the autopilot. Okay? Everything. And it's going to be all me. So I'm going to go ahead and prep my throttle to be sitting where I think it needs to be. I already hit 1,000. So I'm going to disengage autopilot, turning all that off, and I'm flying per myself. I'm flying it manually now. So I'm manually controlling the throttle, trying to look at my glide slope off the ILS diamonds right there. And I'm just following where that is. Low lofts. Basically going visual now. Just trying to maintain the right speeds. And bring us in here. That's just telling you, hey, caution, you're approaching the ground. Yeah, we know. We know we're approaching the ground. We're a little high, but it's alright. Are we going to cut throttle? Hold that 10 up. Alright. On the ground. Reverse thrust. Full reverse thrust. Alright. Cut that reverse thrust. Release the automatic brake. Turn that to off. Gonna turn on our taxi lights. Alright. I'm gonna go ahead and put our flaps up, and we'll drop our, what do you call them? Speed brakes. But guys, that's pretty much it. It's really not that hard. It's just, you know, definitely a learning curve you have to kind of get used to. It took me a little while to get used to. I hope this has helped. We'll stop right off here on the runway. We'll look at our landing, just see how we did, what my vertical speed was when I hit the ground. I think I was a little rough on it, but again, I'm no expert. I'm still learning myself, so we'll go ahead and stop right here. All right, and we'll go ahead and hit that parking brake. We'll change to our external view. If I can do that. There we go. And we'll go toggle replay mode. All right, so let's watch us come in here, see how we did. All right, you can tell I just took it off autopilot. I'm flying it manually now. You can tell it's because it's kind of jerking around. A lot better than my first landing, so that's for sure. That is for sure. That's a little high on my approach, so that's something I can improve on. And down. I was a little off center too. So what we'll do now, and you see the reverse thrust cutting in. Spoilers are up. What we'll do now, oops, didn't want to do that. I meant to just show the thing. We'll go back and we'll go until we actually basically are touching the ground. This will do. Right when we touch the ground, right before it. We want to grab that snapshot right there. We're right before we hit the ground. And the reason we want to see that, we go and change internal. I don't have a thing. You can get little things installed, but I don't have one now. So if you look, yeah, I hit it a little hard. That was 500 meters per second. That's a little hard. Boom. So it was, yeah, about 400, 500. Yeah, that was a little hard. That's actually one of the harsher ones I've done recently. I've been hitting about 300, 200. So anyway, but that's pretty much it in regards to using, well, using the autopilot in the FMC. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.